This simple trick to clearing the hips in the downswing is absolutely necessary if you want that great hip rotation, but nobody talks about it. And that is in the downswing, having your left knee move outwards in this direction, so externally rotating your hip here. Now this is something we see all the best hip rotators in the game do, because it biomechanically forces your hips to clear. And for golfers who struggle massively to clear the hips, I see them doing the exact opposite to what we see the best players do here. They'll be coming in the downswing and having their lead knee, so their left knee there, stay inwards for an incredible amount of time, and it completely shuts off hip rotation. No matter what you can do, you will not rotate your hips doing that. So let me show you with two swings here, the crazy difference between these two techniques and how much it's going to open up my hips. So we're going to see here, very first, we're going to do what most amateurs do, keep their left knee in, and we're going to see from both angles, really quite poor hip rotation. And what we can see there, pretty much no hip rotation to speak of. I'm really square on at impact there, even though I'm trying to clear my hips, and a big old flip release going through the golf ball. So that is the left knee staying in, or that internal rotation in that left hip. So what we're going to see now is the opposite. Let me really try and get this left knee moving outwards. So get that left knee moving out. That is rotating externally into that left hip here. And we're going to see a tremendous difference. So I was trying to clear the hips the exact same amount. I was really trying to have that in there with the intent, but as we can see there, way more hip rotation. So this is something that, like we said, we see all the best hip rotators do, because once we've got that left hip in that externally rotated position, it opens up your hip capsule way more, so you can get more range of motion into that left hip there. Even just let me show you here, where I'm gonna have my knee pointing inwards, and I'm gonna rotate just from this kind of setup position here, but keeping the knee in. Gonna rotate as much as I can. It's about as much as I can do there. But now let me just set up just like this and have that left knee up, and I'm just going to kind of simulate that knee movement in the downswing, and now I'm going to rotate as much as I can. You can see a tremendous more hip rotation before I hit a brick wall in my mobility. So important, it opens up the hip capsule so you can turn. So let's get into how to actually do this with some drills and some essential things to make it work for you. As if you want to pick up one of my courses, now is the time, because I've got them all on sale. So this is for a limited time only, so make sure you act fast. So whether it's the ultimate guide to rotation, complete shallowing guide, or ultimate guide to fixing your over the top, all on sale now. So there is a link down description. Act fast, because it won't be on sale forever. So the big first thing to do here is how your feet are positioned at setup. So your hip capsule will only react to what your foot is doing here. So if I have my foot dead straight, toes dead straight in front, I'm now limited to the amount of range of motion I can rotate into that hip capsule. So again, if I have my foot straight, I'm only going to rotate so much there. It's going to be incredibly hard for me to be able to get that left knee moving. You might see some players do this movement as they start to move down the downswing, because they set up with that two dead straight toes, and then they have to do something to get in that externally rotated hip position. We don't want to do that. We don't want to have this foot dead straight. We have to have a compensating movement to make it work. So that's where I want to see golfers flare out this left foot. I am saying this all the time, and you'll constantly see players be reluctant to do this because it looks funny. But then we look at the best players in the world, the best hip rotators, they all set up like this. So what that'll do immediately, having this left knee out, it's going to really help you rotate a ton more. It's going to open up that hip capsule so you can have that much better rotation. So flare out that left foot, it's so essential. So before we get into the drill here, let's look at my favorite video on how to start the downswing with this move and get it in there, and that's with Bubba Watson here. So you might have seen this on the thumbnail, and that is Bubba Watson having been at the top of his backswing there. So for him being left-handed, flip over the terminology here. So for me, it'll be my left knee. For Bubba, it'll be the right. And we can see what Bubba's doing. Top of the backswing, he's actually having this massive turn where his lead knee is pointing behind the golf ball, and then immediately that lead knee really opens up. It starts to move. It starts to get into this more external position here. Awesome. So we need to do that. We need to find a drill to be able to replicate that. And I've got a drill for you. So what I want you to do is grab something like a ball. So it can be a ball training aid. It can be a cheap football or soccer ball if you're from the US. Or let's say a range basket. What we need to do, put it just above your knees here. Now, my whole goal here is just to drop this down in transition. So as soon as I start that downswing, I want that left knee to go out. That's going to create a bigger gap between your knees. If you've got something in there, it will drop it. So range basket, ball, it can be anything just like that. That is right in between the knees. And if you don't do that, if that lead knee stays a little bit too much in, you're never going to drop it. So I want this ball to drop right as you're starting that downswing. And then we're going to have that brilliant, brilliant position there. So this is so important. I would want guys to rep out this as much as you possibly can. It's going to feel horrendously weird. I remember practicing this myself back in the day, trying to get this movement into my own golf swing. I couldn't even hit a ball without dropping this. I had to do practice swings first. So here we go. Another one, really getting it in there. So really dropping it in transition. If you're familiar with someone like George Gankas, for example, he will have that as kind of like his little squat move he will talk about with those knees separated. Awesome one. So rep out a ton of that. Start practice swing first if you really struggle to drop it, and then move into the golf ball when you're proficient doing it practice swing wise. But another little drill to do is just kind of like a real pre-shot routine to get you in there. So just getting up to the top of your swing, take one of your arms off, doesn't really matter what arm it is. I always do it with my left. Touch your left knee and then just push that left knee out, just so you're getting this little repetition in that transition there. So it's a really good one to do, let's say, as a pre-shot routine or just in between shots when you're hitting balls practicing. And then of course replicate that exact same feel. And boom, it's going to help you clear those hips, open them up, and be able to hit better shots. So this is something that is absolutely necessary if you want to have good hip rotation. It's impossible to rotate the hips if you don't do this. That left knee going in is a killer for hip rotation. You need the left knee to go out. So if you enjoyed this video, click that like button if you want more golf instruction, just like this. Hit the subscribe button and hit the bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video.